A special thank you to each of our subscribers who make this channel possible. Here's today's story. In a striking move that has sparked widespread debate, the Republican governors of 3 states, West Virginia, South Carolina, and Ohio, have announced the deployment of hundreds of National Guard troops to Washington, D.C. This decision comes at the request of the Trump administration, which has framed the situation in the Capitol as a crisis of crime and homelessness. The announcement, made on Saturday, follows a tense negotiation between D.C. officials and the Trump administration, which resulted in an agreement to keep Mayor Muriel Bowser's appointed police chief, Pamela Smith, in charge of the police department despite a lawsuit from D.C. Attorney General Brian Schwalb aimed at blocking the federal takeover of local law enforcement. President Trump's administration has characterized the deployment as an emergency response to what he describes as rampant crime and homelessness in the city. Just last week, Trump stated he would send hundreds of D.C. National Guard troops to Washington and temporarily assume control of the city's police department. However, local officials have expressed concerns, noting that violent crime rates in D.C. are currently lower than they were during Trump's first term. The National Guard troops are being sent from hundreds of kilometers away, with West Virginia pledging to send 300 to 400 members, South Carolina contributing 200, and Ohio committing 150 troops. This marks a significant escalation in federal intervention in a city that is predominantly led by Democratic officials. The deployment comes at a time when protests against federal law enforcement presence have intensified, with demonstrators voicing their opposition to what they see as an overreach of power by the Trump administration. On the ground, National Guard members have been seen patrolling key locations such as the National Mall and Union Station, assisting local law enforcement with crowd control and other duties. However, their role has been limited thus far, raising questions about the necessity of the additional troops. Critics argue that the increased military presence is unnecessary and that it serves as a tactic for President Trump to exert greater control over the Capitol. West Virginia Governor Patrick Morrisey expressed pride in sending troops to support Trump's efforts, declaring, "We are proud to stand with President Trump in his effort to restore pride and beauty to our nation's capital." South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster echoed similar sentiments, stating that he authorized the deployment at the Pentagon's request, with a caveat that the troops could be recalled if natural disasters arise. Ohio Governor Mike DeWine also confirmed the dispatch of 150 military police to carry out security patrols, following a request from Army Secretary Dan Driscoll. As the situation unfolds, protests against Trump's intervention have erupted across the city. Demonstrators gathered at DuPont Circle, marching towards the White House, while holding banners proclaiming, "No fascist takeover of D.C. and no military occupation." Protest organizer Morgan Taylor stated that the aim of the demonstration was to generate enough public backlash against Trump's actions that the administration would reconsider its crime and immigration agenda. "It's hot, but I'm glad to be here. It's good to see all these people out here," she remarked. Concerns about the implications of Trump's actions have been voiced by various residents, including John Finnegan, a longtime D.C. resident who criticized the president's moves as ridiculous given the declining crime rates. Meanwhile, Jamie Dickstein, a local teacher, expressed her discomfort with the presence of unmarked officers in the city, fearing for the safety of her students. City leaders have been caught in a difficult position, required to cooperate with Trump's directives under federal law, while simultaneously expressing their discontent with the scope of the federal takeover. The administration's recent reversal of an order that would have placed the head of the Drug Enforcement Administration as an emergency police commissioner came after legal challenges from the district's top lawyer, indicating the contentious nature of the federal-local relationship. In a letter addressed to D.C. residents, Mayor Bowser emphasized the importance of unity during these challenging times, stating, "Our limited self-government has never faced the type of test we are facing right now." She urged residents to stand together, asserting that their collective actions would demonstrate to the nation what it means to fight for democracy. As the deployment of National Guard troops continues and protests escalate, the situation in Washington, D.C. remains fluid. The implications of this federal intervention are likely to resonate far beyond the Capitol, potentially influencing the political landscape as the nation heads toward the next election cycle. With tensions high and public sentiment divided, the coming days will be crucial in determining the future of policing in the nation's capital and the relationship between federal and local authorities. That's all for this story. We upload videos every day covering many different subjects, so hit that subscribe button to stay informed. Thanks for watching.